In this session, we will build and deploy a portfolio website using React, Tailwind, and Framer Motion. Our website will be responsive, animated, and complete, making it perfect as a portfolio for yourself, a template for your future projects, or simply a great addition to your project collection. Not only you will create a functional website, but you will also have a reusable sections that can be implemented in your other projects. The hero section in this project is similar to the one from a previous portfolio I built with Next.js. However, this time we are using Vite as our build tool, combined with React and Tailwind to create a fast and optimized development experience. Additionally, I redesigned the entire portfolio. While the hero section layout has been updated, all the other sections are completely different. We'll be building the rest of the site around this newly designed hero section. Now, without further ado, let's check the design of the wall page. On our website, we will start creating this hero section with a planet effect. We will have there our profile picture, and above you can see the navigation bar that is fixed, and as we will be scrolling through the page, it will be with us so we can navigate anywhere at any time. Next section is about section. This section is using a bento grid, and we have there multiple kind of informations about us, so background, skills, approach or goals. We can put there images of our projects and so on. If you'll go to the next section, there we have some of our projects highlighted, and whenever we will click on the project, it will expand and it will show the project image, stack, type, and some description. Also, it will have a link to the project website or to the GitHub. Then we will move to my stack section, where we have our stack that we are mainly using, displayed in these icons that are also animated, and whenever we will scroll back to view of this component, the animation will appear again. And then the last section, which is a footer section connected with also a contact section, where we have our email, phone or office address, design element with our name, and a footer with the social links. We can also check the responsiveness of the page. There we can open a navigation bar. And let's go to About section. From there we can scroll down the page. And now, without further ado, we can dive in and start coding. I will open first tailwindcss.com, and there I will open framework guides and I will open Vite. There we will execute these commands, this one and these two. And there we will continue in setting the Tailwind config.js and so on. Let's first execute these three commands. We will start with opening a terminal there. There's a shortcut, or you can just go like this. You will paste there the first command, and instead of my project, we will put there a dot. And you can put there a dot in case you are in some new folder that you already created. In case no, just put there the app name, and it will create a new folder for you. But I will put there a dot. I will hit enter. It will initialize the Vite project for me. Then we will continue with the next command for installing the Tailwind, and then the last command for initializing the Tailwind. Now on the page, we will copy this Tailwind config.js and we will paste it there into Tailwind config.js in our folder. Then we will copy index.css we have there, go into source, go into index.css and paste it there. And then for testing purposes, we can copy this app.jsx, put it there. And one additional thing, we will delete this app.css. And then we can open a terminal again, and we can do npm run dev to open a localhost where we will have our page. Now you can see on our page hello world, which is the template we copied from Tailwind, and as it's underlined with a bigger font size, it means that our Tailwind is properly initialized and it's working. Now what we will do is that we will go into index.css, and there we will add a few additional things. First, we will import a font there, and if we are importing a font, it always needs to be on the first line. Then I would like to set a smooth scroll to our page. So I will do there HTML, scroll behavior to smooth. Then for our body, we will set a font family that we imported on the first line, and we will set the background color to black with the text color to white. Now it's time to import the images. We will go into the assets, and there we will paste the folder with the images we will be using in our project. Then we will create there in the source folder the components folder, where we will have a navigation bar and a footer. And also we will create there a folder called pages, where we will have the sections like hero section, about section, and so on. Let's go into pages, and there we will create a new file, and we will call it hero.jsx. And it will be our first section, the hero section, that we will be creating. If you want to import this section to our page, we need to do export const 0, and there we need to return something inside the component. Now, having this, we will go into app.jsx, and there we will create just something called empty fragments, which is basically something that will hold our sections or components and will show it on page. So we don't need to do a div there, as we don't need it, and we can just use these empty fragments. We will start typing there hero, hit enter, it will be automatically imported. So now we have there import of the hero section in our app.jsx. We have there the component itself, and there we can do, for example, something above and below. In the hero section, we can also put there text test, for example, something like this. And now we can see on our page that the text we put into app.jsx is displayed even with the hero component where we have just text test. Now, as we have this imported, that's how we do it with all the components. We will just put all these blocks we will be creating together into app.jsx, and we will create our website. And now we can go and go to the hero section. We'll start with importing motion from Framer Motion, which we need to install. So let's open a terminal and do npm I Framer Motion. We'll be using Framer Motion for the animations. Now we install this library, so it should be fine. We'll also import a profile picture from our images. In the main div, we will put relative class with overflow clip. That means we won't be getting any content out of our hero section. For the relative, we will want to put there this class because we will be setting also absolute position to some of our elements, so we need to stick them with this main div. And minimum height screen, because we want this section to take at least the minimum height. Then we have there text white, and also we will set there, and maybe this is the main thing of this div, background to linear gradient, where we will be going to bottom from a black color to a light green color. I will use these color codes, and it will create background that you can now see on my page. And next element is the planet effect itself. You can see that this is of absolute position. It's having background black, and we are setting there width and height to this 2400 pixels and 1000 pixels. We are making this a circle, so we are setting there rounded to 50%, and we are putting this in the middle, so we are setting there left to 50% for our absolute position and translating it by 50%. Then we are setting this background radial gradient from the closest side, which will create this shining effect on our planet, and we are setting the position of the planet, which will be 450 pixels from top. We also set a border to our planet with a border color. Then we will create a div as a container. We will center it with MX Auto, and we will add some padding to it. I will be adding horizontal padding to 4, padding from top to 12, and I will double the value for padding to bottom. Inside, I will create a div that will be using a flexbox layout with flex direction column, so the items inside are below each other, and then I will center them horizontally and vertically with items and justify center. We will also center the text with text center, and we will also put there a z-index to 10, so we make sure the planet effect or anything else is behind this div container. Inside, I will start with motion div, and this is why we imported the Framer Motion, because we will want to create some animations with this. And now I will explain how these motion divs work. We have their initial state, where we are setting opacity and scale to almost 0, let's say. That means this is the starting point of this div. Then we are setting animate property, and this is the final state of the animation. So the animation will go from opacity 0 to opacity 1, that means fully visible, and from half scale, it will go to full scale, that means it will also take its full size. The duration of this animation will take 0.8 seconds, and that is something we will set in this prop transition. Then we can also add to this motion div some class names, so I will add a relative class name with margin to bottom and also a different margin to top. Inside this motion div, we will add the image. the image will be our profile picture, where I will set 250 pixels, relative, and also z-index to 10. Let's continue with the shining effect that we will put behind our picture. We will make it absolute position, inset 0, background gradient to bottom, and there we will set that we want this effect to be from emerald to transparent. That means it will start on this color and it will turn transparent on the end. We will make it a circle, so we will set rounded full and we will add there some blur. In case we won't add there the blur, it will be just a visible circle. Then we will prepare another motion div. We will again start with opacity 0 and Y to 20. That means it will be on a different position that it should end with. We will set our opacity to 1 and Y to 0, so its final position, and the duration of this animation will take 0.8 seconds. We also set our maximum width to 2XL, because this motion div will be holding the text and we don't want it to be too wide, as users should be able to read it easily. I will set there H1 with some introduction. Hi, I'm John Doe. I will put Doe, the surname, in a span tag where I will set a different color. I will also add there a break tag to have John Doe, the name, on a different line. And for the H1 itself, I will increase the text size. On medium screen, I will increase it even more. I will make this font bold and I will make it tracking tighter. That means we will decrease the letter spacing just for the design purpose. We will add to it also some margin to bottom, because below we will have a paragraph tag with some description of what we are doing. I will have there, I'm a full stack developer focusing on creating websites that provides user with the best experience. For this paragraph tag, I will set text size to TextXL, text to white with 0.8 opacity, and 0.8 opacity you can reach by putting there /80. I will set maximum width large for this text. I will center it with MX Auto. That means it will automatically margin to left and right to center it. Then leading relaxed. That means it will set the line height and then margin to bottom. Then I will create there another div with a flexbox layout and justify center. And I will also add there gap to 4, so we have some spacing between our elements. I will add there a first motion button. In total, I will have there 2. So the first one will be for contact me. We will increase their scale a bit on hover. So we will use this prop while hover and set our scale to 1.05. When we will hover over this button, it will increase its scale. We will also set their horizontal padding to 6, vertical padding to 3. We will add their background emerald 500, rounded full and font medium, and on hover we will increase the text color and we will use the transition colors, which is being used when we are making some animations with the colors which we are making there for the hover. Then we will basically copy paste this, but we will put there view work, and instead of this background emerald, we will put there a border, and for the border we will set a white color with 0.2 opacity, and on hover we can increase the opacity a bit, so we'll put it to 0.1. Then we will add the last motion div, and this motion div won't have any content because it will be just a color floating behind our text we have there. So we will put there animate, Y to 0, 15, 0, then transition, duration will be 3, repeat on infinity, and ease in out. That means it will be changing this position behind our text in an infinite loop. Classes we will add there is the absolute class, bottom to 16, right to 33%. We will set there some width and height, emerald color with 0.1 opacity. We will make it rounded to full and blur to XL. Now if we will check our hero section, you can see the shining effect behind our text and behind our profile picture, then the blended effect, and it wasn't really that complex. We were just setting the linear background color, then we were adding there another element of absolute position, then we made a full circle, we add also some color to it, and then just our profile picture with the text, the buttons, and put a shining effect behind it. Now, of course, we will also add more sections to it that will play with this design. We can double check the responsiveness. And we can continue to another section. Let's create there a new file, about.js6. There we'll do export const about. We will return there empty fragments for now. We can go to app.js6. There we can import it. And now we can start coding it. For the About section, first we will import React and these two project images we will have in assets images. Then into the return of our About component, we will start with a section where we will put ID About and a class name with text Vite and padding to 8. Then we will continue with heading 2 where we will put About Me and we will put Me into the span text where we will change the color. For wall H2, we will add a text to 6L, we will set it to font bold and we will add some margin to bottom. We will create a new div and to this div we will put a grid class with grid columns 1 and also on a medium screen grid columns 3. That means we will have on desktop version 3 columns or on mobile version or maybe some smaller tablet we will have just 1 column. We also set our gap to 8 to make sure there will be enough spacing between our blocks that we will build inside this grid. First block we will add where we will add the border and border to white color with points to opacity. We will make the corners rounded and we will set padding to 6. We will set our heading 3 where we will put a background and also we will name it as a first block. We will set text size to text to XL, font to bold as it's another heading and margin to bottom 2. We will put there a paragraph tag with some sentence about us and we will set the color to text white with 0.5 opacity and some margin. I will set our margin to bottom 6. Below, we will create another div with rounded large, some padding and margin to bottom, where we will again set this border and set its color to border white with 0.2 opacity. And we will add there a code tag. For this code tag, we will set emerald color with 0.5 opacity and we will put there this array of skills we have. JavaScript, React, Node, Python, SQL and AWS, for example. You can see there these signs before the JavaScript and React and so on, and these are just 2 symbols for spacings. Then we have a break text between them, so it creates a nice code layout that I can show you now on our page. Let's continue with another div that we will do below this one. We will set there a border with border white and 0.2 opacity, again rounded large, so we have rounded corners and some padding. I will set there padding to 6. There we will add a second block, expertise. We will set there text size to 2XL, font bold and margin to bottom. We will add there some text into the paragraph tag with text white and 0.5 opacity and then we will create a new div. To this div we will set margin to top 4. We will add a relative class, border and set border color to border white 0.2 opacity, rounded large for the corners, padding to 4. We will set our fixed height. I will use 220 pixels and overflow hidden so nothing will get out of this div. Into this div we will add image with the first project. We will put there a class name of absolute position, that's why we have there a relative position so it will stick to it. Inset 0, width and height to full and object to cover so we get the best of our image. Below we will create another div. Again we will use there the same border with same color, border white and 0.2 opacity, same border radius, rounded large and same padding, padding to 6. We will put there skills as heading 3 with again text to XL, font bold and margin to bottom and some text. That will match with the skills heading. For the text we are using text white with 0.5 opacity and margin to bottom 4. Then below we will create a div with a grid layout and setting there grid columns 2 with gap 4 so there is some space between these two elements we will have there. And we will have there another div that will use border with border white and 0.2 opacity and rounded large for the border radius and some padding. Inside we will put a front end heading 4 with text emerald 300, font medium and margin to bottom. And there we will put our skills from the front end area. So I will put there an unordered list with text white and 0.5 opacity, space Y1, that means we will set there a spacing that should be between our list items, that is inside this unordered list. This li you can see there, and text to small. First one will be React Next.js, then TypeScript, Tailwind, and Framer Motion. Below we will add another div that will now hold the backend skills. We will set there a border with border white 0.2 opacity, rounded large, and padding to 3. Basically you can copy paste it. Heading 4 we will set to backend. We will put there text emerald 300, font medium, and margin to bottom 2. And the skills we will put into this unordered list, and we will put there Node, Python, Postgres, and AWS. That will be it for that block. We can now move to another one. We will put there a grid class with grid columns 1. On medium screen, we will use grid columns 2. We will set there some gap between our elements and margin to top to 8. For the first block, we will set border with border white 0.2 opacity, rounded large and padding to 6. Then we will create a div inside with space y4, so we have a vertical spacing between the elements inside. And there we will be putting the progress lines. So I will create a div, and into this div I will put a label. For the first one I will put frontend with the classes of block, text small, font medium, and margin to bottom 1. Below this block I will put a div with width to full, background white with 0.1 opacity, and rounded full with some height. I will set height to 2. And in this div we will have the progress bar. For the progress bar we will put a class name of a background emerald 300 and height to 2 also, as for the wrapping div, that is showing the full width like 100%, and this div with the frontend scale will be showing 90%. So we will display there on the page 90% line for the frontend scale. You can see it there. You can basically copy paste this, because next will be the pretty much same, but I will change there the width. So I will put there backend, I won't be doing there 90%, I will put there for example 85%, but the colors and how this will work, how we will style this and make it look like a progress bar will be pretty much the same as in the first div. So we can copy paste it and just change the width, which I will be using 85% for the backend, and then I will put there also DevOps and put there a width of 75%. Now let's put there a heading 3 with approach, and for paragraph tag we will put there also some sentence. The styling of the heading 3 and paragraph is pretty much the same as before to keep the same style. Let's check how the section looks like. Another one will be the border and border white 2.2 opacity. With flex direction column, that means the elements inside will be in the column direction, so below each other. And then justify between to have their spacing between these elements. We will create our div with a relative class, border and border white, rounded large, also padding again, and we will set our fixed height to 200 pixels. We will create that overflow hidden, so nothing will get out of this div. Then we will do another div that will be below this one in the wrapping div, and to the first one we will put an image for the project 2. For the classes we will put their absolute position, inset 0, width and height to full, and object to cover. In the div below we will put a heading 3 of goals and a paragraph tag. Again we will use the same styling for the heading and for the paragraph. Now our about section is done. If you will check how it looks like, and to double check the responsiveness we can check it there. And there, instead of grid columns 2, you can do grid columns 1 and text to center. And then the section can look like this. But you can choose the layout from these two that you like for this section. Let's move to another section, and that will be a portfolio section. We'll create there a new component, portfolio.jsx. There we will create export const portfolio with the return where we can put empty fragments for now. Add it to our app.jsx, so I will put there a portfolio, and we can start coding there. First, let's go over the imports in our portfolio.jsx. There we are importing from framer motion to motion and animate presents, as we will be using animations on the different elements and expanding them as we will be clicking on them. Also we will use useState to tackle this. Then we will import the project images, and we will import the icons we will use. GitHub icon, external link icon, and also a down arrow icon. Then we will create an array named projects, where we will put 3 projects of our choice. So for each project, I will create a title, description, dev stack, link, git, source, and type. Now you can see how I filled the first project, and like this, I will also do it for the second and third project. Then inside the portfolio component, I will define the useState variable, expanded index, and also set expanded index that I will use in different function to set this state variable. default value will be null. I will create a function toggle expand that will take index and will set the state variable expanded index with set expanded index. I will show you how this works on a real example as we will code this in a bit. First, in the return, we will code a main div, and to this div we will set ID to portfolio. Then we will add there text white, vertical padding, and on medium screen even more vertical padding to 64. Inside this div I will create an inner div that will be a container. I will center it with mx auto and add some horizontal padding. I will continue with heading 2, and I will put there selected projects, and projects I will put into span tag with text emerald 300. For this heading I will set a text 6XL, font bold, text to center, and margin to bottom 16. Then I will below it create another div with space y8 that will make sure there will be some spacing between the elements vertically. Now I will map over our projects array, where I will set the name of the current item in the array will be project, and the position of the item in the array will be index. I will create a motion div. I will set there a key to index, and to the initial state I will set to opacity 0, so it's invisible, and y to 20, so it's on a different position that it should be in the end. While in view, we will set opacity to 1, so it's fully visible, and the final position, which is y to 0. We will set there viewport once true, and the transition. The transition we will set to half second and some delay. With the higher index number, there will be a higher delay, so it will create this wave effect. For the classes, we will set background white with 0.05 opacity, then rounded large for the border radius, overflow hidden so nothing will get out of this card, and also some shadow. On hover, we will increase the shadow. We will use transition shadow for the shadow animation and duration 300. Inside this motion div, we will add a div that on click will call our toggle expand function that we created and will set the index there. That means when we will call the onClick function by clicking on this element, it will have the index there and it will get expanded as it will set the expanded index to our state variable. Inside we'll have h3 with project.title. We are using project because that's how we defined the name of the item in array, project, and title because we set it in our array there. So we can do project.title, project.description, devstack, project.link, and so on. To it, we will set text for Excel and font semi-bold. We'll create another div below with flexbox layout, items to center it, space x4 to have some horizontal spacing, and a span tag with text 3XL, font light, and text emerald 300, where we will set a 0 on the beginning, and then we will count the indexes. So as we are starting counting from 0, it will be 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. Let's continue with adding there also the arrow. So I will add there the arrow icon that I added, and I will set there a class name of width to 6, height to 6, transform, and transition transform. In case it will be expanded, we will rotate the arrow by 180 degrees. You also need to have a library installed for these arrows. So you can open a terminal and you can put there npm I react icons. Now you will hit enter and it will install these libraries where you can take the icons from. Let's continue with animate presence. As we will be using animations, on expanding we will use animate presence because that will enable the animations of the components that will be changing its state. We will do there a conditional rendering. In case expanded index equals to the index in our current array, we will be rendering this motion div. For this motion div, we will set the initial state to height and opacity to 0. On animate, we will set the height to auto. That means as it will get expanded, it will take the necessary height. Then opacity to 1, so it's fully visible. And this is something we are using the animate presence tag for. It will change the height to 0 and opacity to 0 also, so it will again get basically invisible. Transition for this will be 0.3, and there with this transition we'll be setting how quickly should the project tab open. For the class name we will set padding x to 6 and padding to bottom 6 also. Background black with 0.2 opacity and a border with border white and 0.1 opacity. Now if I will test it, you won't see much because we still need to put there all the images. First I will create there a div with a flexbox layout, flex direction column, so the items inside are below each other. On medium screen, I will put flex direction row, so the elements will be next to each other. I will also put there gap 8, so we have some spacing between the elements inside. I will put there an image. I will set source to project.source, alt to project.title, and class names of width to full, on medium screen only half width, height to 64, object to cover, and round it large. Below we will set a div with flex 1, that means we will set there the space it should take there. Inside we will do a paragraph tag, text wide with 0.7 opacity and margin to bottom 4, and there we will put a project.description. Below we will do a paragraph tag with a stack where we will do project.devstack. We will put there a different color, I will use emerald one, font medium and margin to bottom, and there I will put a paragraph tag with a type of the project type, again a bit different, emerald color, font medium, margin to bottom, and capitalize. Then below I will create a div with flexbox layout, justify start, items to center, so it's aligned on the start of this div, and also it's centered, and there I will put the icons. First one will be the external link icon, where I will put the href to project.link, and the second one will be there for a GitHub, where I will put href as project.git. Now we can check how this looks like on our page, and we can expand, and just one project will be opened at a time. You can see there the description, stack, type, also with 2 links that will take us to GitHub or directly to the website of the project. Now to check the responsiveness, let's go to the mobile version. There we have it. So that will be it for the portfolio section, and we can now move to the next one. Now to the next component that will be there, and we will call it stack.jsx, and do there the export const stack with some return, and now we will take it to app.jsx, put it below the portfolio, and we can start there. First, for the imports, we will import also use effect. Then we'll import these icons from React Icons. From Framer Motion, we'll import also use animation next to motion, and we'll import use in view from React Intersection Observer. We need to install this library, so let's do npmi React Intersection Observer, install it, and we'll be using for this because we want this animation to reanimate every time we will put it in our view, as we'll be scrolling in the page from top to bottom and from bottom to top. We'll create an array, stack items, and there we'll put the first item. Its ID will be 1, name framer, there will be the icon where we'll also set a size, and below for the color, we will set the color of the icon. Like this, we will define all the icons, and we can continue. In our stack component, we'll create a variable called controls, and we will use there the use animation. Below we will want to use the use in view, so we will set there ref with in view, and we will set there a 0.1 threshold. We will use these in use effect, where we will check. In case in view is true, we will set visible to controls.start, otherwise we will do controls.start hidden. And this use effect will mount every time controls or in view will change. Then in the return, we will create a section tag with ID stack, and we will add there vertical padding to 24. On medium screen, we will increase it to 64. Maximum width of the section will be 1200 pixels. We will center it with MX Auto, and we will set text to center. Inside, we will do heading 2 with my stack. We will set there text 7XL, text gray 100, font to bold, and some margin to bottom. Below we will create a div where we will set ref to ref, and also a class names of flex, flex wrap, justify center, and gap 8, so we have some spacing between the elements inside. We will now map over the stack items, the array that we created there with all the icons. The name of the item in our array will be item and the position index. Now we will create a motion div. In this motion div, we will set key as item.id, custom we will set as index, initial to hidden, animate to controls that we set there for the use animation, and we will set variance. And for the variance, we will set hidden, that will use opacity 0, and depending on the index position, it will go from bottom or from top. The visible variant will have opacity 1, final position of y0, and the duration will take 1.5 seconds. For the class names, we will set background white with 0.1 opacity, flex direction column, so we will also use a flexbox layout, center it with items center and justify center, so both horizontally and vertically it will be centered, width and height to 200 pixels, rounded XL, shadow large, hover shadow to XL, transition shadow, and duration to 300. Now inside we will put the icon, so we will create our div with the class names of margin to bottom and item color that we are setting there. So in case we would like to change the color of our icon, we need to change it there in our array. Then we will put our item.icon, and if you will save it, you can see now it will appear on our page. We still don't have the text for the icons there, so let's edit and then check also the animation. We will put there a paragraph tag, item.name. There we will set the color of this name, text white with 0.2 opacity, and its size text XL. Now as we have it, we can check the animation. So I will scroll up, and now I will scroll back down, and you can see how the animation works. We will go to components. There we will create a new one called footer.js6. We will do the export there. We will put it to our app.js6. And now we can start coding it. We will import the social icons from React icons, and that will be it. Then we will create inside the return a footer tag where we will set ID of contact. We will set it there because in our footer we will also have the contact address. We will also have the email and everything, so we can then put it to the button on top. If we will put there, for example, contact me or something, so I would put it there. For the class names, I will do there py8 to have some vertical padding. Then we will continue with setting there a maximum width of 1200 pixels, centering it with mx auto, and setting there a horizontal padding 4. Then we will create a div with flexbox layout, items to center and justify between, so we have even spacing there, flex direction column, on medium screen flex direction row, so on a mobile screen it will be below each other, on desktop next to each other. Inside we will create a div that will be wrapping h2 with get in touch. For this h2 we will set on medium screen text 7XL, otherwise on mobile screen text 4XL is enough, font to bold, margin to bottom, and text white with 0.5 opacity. For the span tag, we will set a different color. I will use there text gray 400. Now below we will create an anchor tag where I will put the email john@doe.com. For this email, if we will put href to the anchor tag mail to John Doe, it will open the preset email. So for example, for me, it would open Outlook. For the classes, we will set the text size, underline, some decoration, underline offset, and on hover, we will change the decoration color. And we will also set our transition and duration to 300. Below this one, we will create another div. In this div, next what we will create is another div with margin to bottom. There we will create a paragraph tag with text large and margin to bottom 1. And below, we will create an anchor tag with the phone number. To href, we will add the phone number itself. And for classes, we will add some decorations, underlines, and transition with duration 300. Then we will continue with the office address. We will add a div with text large and margin to bottom. And then for paragraph tags, in the first one, we will do the font bold, as this will be some kind of a heading. And then we will adjust the street, city, and country. Now we will go even below the div that is holding this contact information, and we will create a new one. We will add a relative class with z-index to 10, text to center, margin top to 8, and vertical padding to 12. Then we will add there heading 1 with our name, John Doe. This will be a design element. We will set there hidden on the mobile screen and we will display it on medium screen display block. We will set text to 10 rems, so the text is big enough to take almost the full width of our page. We will set it also as font bold, text white, and we will set their really low opacity. I will set their opacity to 10. Below, we will edit on medium screen. This will get hidden and it will be just displayed on mobile screen. We don't need to define anything. And again, low opacity with text white. Now we can create another div that will hold the socials. We will put their relative class, margin top to 12, container, so it has some predefined width. Flexbox layout, from small screen we will do justify between, so we have their spacing between the elements. Otherwise we will center this with justify and items to center horizontally and vertically. Then we will do gap to 10, so there is some spacing between the elements inside this div. And we will also define there that these elements we will have in this div should be in flex direction column until the small screen. So there is the max SM flex direction column. On a medium screen, it will be next to each other with flex direction row. We don't need to define it. There we will put the first paragraph tag with text grade 200 and put there all right reserved. And below we will create unordered list that will hold our socials. We will put there a flexbox layout gap to 5 and flex wrap, so it will be wrapped automatically. There we will put the first anchor tag and then we will just copy paste this for all of our socials. We will put their href of the icon we will use there, so I'm using their GitHub, so I will put their href to our GitHub. For the classes we will set the text color, then flexbox layout to center with items and justify center. We will set their width and height to 10 and round it full. Now we will add rest of the icons and we will check our page. That will be it for the footer, even with the contact information we have there. Now let's check the responsiveness. And this is how the footer looks like on a mobile device. And now it's time to add the last component, and that is navigation bar. We will create there navbar.jsx. There we will create its export. We will add it to app.jsx on the top. And we can start coding it. We will start with importing also use state with React. Then we will import icons that we will use for our navbar, and we'll import it from React icons, outline menu and outline close. Then we will create an array called navlinks. For the array we will add some items and we will create them with title and path. And then I can move right into the navbar component. I will first define there a state variable, nav, and I will set its default value to false. With setNav, we will be setting this state variable. And actually, we will use it right in next function. Next function will be called toggleNav, and there, after we will call it, we will call the setNav, and we will set the opposite value to our nav state variable. So whenever this will get called, we will set this to true instead of the default false. We will create also another function called closeNav. And we will be calling this after we will click on the item or on the close icon, and this will set our state variable nav to false, so the navigation will get closed. It's important to have this because when we will navigate, for example, to about section and we will click on the menu item, we want our navbar to be closed after it will redirect us there. Do not have the additional step of closing the navbar by ourselves. Now we can head right into the return, and there we will create a main div that will have a z-index set to 50, fixed position, so it will follow us when we will be scrolling through the page. Then a flex, so we can use justify center, which will center items horizontally. Then we will set width to full, text to white and font bold. We will add a first div that will hold the desktop navigation. For this one, we will add a border with border white to 0.2 opacity as a color. Margin from top, backdrop blur so it's nicely visible when we will be scrolling through the page, and rounded 3XL so it has rounded corners. We will hide this on the mobile screen, so we will put there a hidden class. On medium screen we will make it display flex, and we will use items and justify center to center it vertically and horizontally. We will add there some padding. I will add padding 2. We will set our maximum width. I will set there 400 pixels, and we will center this with MX auto. That means automatic horizontal margin. Inside this div, as our desktop navigation, we will add an unordered list where we can put the list items. I will add a flexbox layout and flex direction row so the items are next to each other. We will add there some padding and also space x8. That means we will increase the spacing that will be between our items. Now we will map over the nav links, so we don't need to repeat any code. The name of the item in our array will be link and its position will be index. We will create a list item where we will set the key as index, then we will create an anchor tag, and as we named the item in our array as a link, we can put there a link.path. That means whenever this anchor tag will be clicked, it will redirect the user to the path we have there. And then we will set there some class names. We will set our transform, and on hover we will rotate this a bit with QX12, and also we will change its color to 0.5 opacity. We will use there also transition all, some duration, and ease in out for the smooth animation. Inside this anchor tag we will put link.title, so the name of the link is displayed. Now we can see how the navigation on the desktop looks like, and we can go to creating a mobile navigation. First we will create our div. With the onClick function toggle nav, that means whenever this icon gets clicked, because this div will hold the icon, it will call the function toggle nav that is changing our state variable. Now you can see the icon is on our page, and we will add there on medium screen hidden, because on medium screen we have the desktop navigation. We will add there absolute position, and we will set its position to top 5 and right 14 with border and rounded, setting also z-index to 50, text white with 0.7 opacity, and the border to the same color, border white 0.7 opacity. We will also add there some padding. Inside we will put a ternary operator, so it will depend on the value of our state variable. In case it will be true, we will execute outline close with size of 30. In case it will be false, so defaultly it will be executing this outline menu with size of 30. On our page you can see how it's changing whenever I will click it, because we are changing the value of our state variable. Then we will create a div that will hold the mobile navigation. For this div I will set a fixed class, its position to left 0 and top 0, width and height to full, background black with 0.9 opacity, transform, transition transform, and duration 300, and this will be used for the animation of our menu items, as it will be translating off screen and on screen. Now we will put there a ternary operator again that will depend on the nav state variable. In case it will be true, we will translate x0, that means it will be shown on the screen. In case it will be false, we will translate x full, that means it will fully get off screen. Now we can create another list, but first let's display the navigation. So whenever I will click, it will be displayed. Now it should be displayed, and we can start creating the another list where we will put a flexbox layout, flex direction column, because we want these list items to be below each other. Then we will center them with items and justify center, space y8, so they have some vertical spacing between them, and height to full. As before, we will map through them. We will call the array item link and its position index. We will create there a list item where we will set the key as index, so it's aware of the position, and we will create there an anchor tag with href to link.path, on click to close nav, because whenever user will click any item, it should redirect him, and also it should close the navigation. Then we will set there a class name of text5xl, so the text is big enough on the mobile screen, and we will put there a link.title. Now you can see it on our page, and you can also see how it's getting on and off screen. Let's now test it with the wall portfolio. So I will open it. We can go to About section, Portfolio section, Stack. So the Navbar is working, responsiveness is fine. Now we can also check it for the desktop. There is also working with the smooth scroll navigation. So this is how we can create a navigation bar. And now it's time to deploy our website. What we will do is that we need to publish our project to GitHub. Now we published it. In case we will do any changes, we will just create a commit. So for example, I will do some change in our app.js6, and there, in case of any changes, you will stage it, you will put a commit message, you will commit it, and it will be automatically updated in your Git. Next thing what we will do is that we will go to vercel.com, and there we will go into our dashboard, and we will head to add a new project, and there we will find the one that we just published. So you can see our dev portfolio I published with Vite. I will click on import. There I can just click deploy, we don't have any environment variables or anything, and it will start with the deployment. In case we will have any errors, we will be notified there, we will be able to fix them, and then, in case there are any, we will just make commits to our GitHub. But as you can see, we were able to deploy this without any errors or issues. So there, our page is ready. We can continue to dashboard, and there, if we will click on this domain, we will access our page live. So now we can copy the link, send to anyone, and that will be it for today's session. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I will see you in the next one, and that's really it. Cheers.